Hey guys, this week I've been testing the new 2020 Subaru Ascent. This is Subaru's 3-row SUV offering. We have a pretty nice looking, attractive interior in here. A lot of features, lots of buttons, pretty good ergonomics. It's nicely priced, around $46,000, and has Subaru's 2.4-liter turbocharged Boxer engine. Makes about 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a continuously variable transmission, and we'll go around this car. We'll give you guys a walk around, and then go for a test drive a little bit later, and show you guys what it's like behind the wheel. At the end of the video, we'll also be doing a sound test with this Harman Kardon sound system. So inside, we've got a lot of great features in here. We have Subaru's new eyesight system, which senses traffic around you, potential collisions, blind spot monitoring, all that good stuff. You have a couple different information displays in the center here, and up here in the screen near the windshield, you can see the weather, Sirius XM stations, your gas mileage, all sorts of different displays. You hit the view button, it'll show you the forward-facing camera, which is a 180-degree camera. Otherwise, we get a pretty wide reverse camera, as well as rear cross-traffic alert. Heated, cooled seats, though you can't turn them on simultaneously. That's okay. X mode, all-wheel drive. This is going to be a very popular vehicle for those in the snow belt. Subaru always does a really nice job with their all-wheel drive systems and their winter driving abilities. Speaking of which, you have a heated steering wheel right here, which is easy to access. Cruise control buttons. All the ergonomics in this Ascent are pretty good. Once you get used to it, it's not a bad vehicle to use. The infotainment is kept pretty simple as well. We do have Apple CarPlay. Everything seems to respond reasonably well. It's not as immediate as some systems, and the screen isn't as big as some other screens in the class, but it's a decently sharp and nicely colored display. Let's walk you around this Ascent. For this top trim Limited, this is the only interior option. It's actually a pretty nice looking color. We had a similar leather option in the Legacy that we tested it a few weeks ago. And this is a very appropriate day to be driving this because it's May and it's snowing just a little bit. I'm not too crazy about the appearance of this, honestly. For a big SUV, it has, I don't know, has some kind of softer, frumpy lines to it. I think Subaru has definitely done some better designs in the past, but they've also done some worse ones. So we'll just leave it at beauties in the eye of the beholder. You do get quite a bit of space, especially behind the third row. There's even a little compartment underneath to store things. These rear seats fold flat, and they're easy to lift up and put down. All mechanical, which is always nice. We'll show you what it's like to get back there too here in a second. Probably pretty appropriate for kids, and there's even a little bit of room for adults in there in a pinch. There's even a feature back here where there's a button. You can program a code and leave your key in the vehicle, go off, go mountain biking, go for a walk or a run, come back, hit that code, and unlock the vehicle without having to bring your keys. Captain chairs in the rear, very easy to access the third row. Plenty of headroom to get in. These headrests raise up easy enough. And once you get this third row situated at 5'10", I have a little bit of room. You can always put your leg through the center there. But like I said earlier, probably best for kids. You do get 2 USB ports here, which is nice. Lots of cup holders. Everything in the back is quite well integrated. If you want to fold these flat, that's pretty easy to do as well. It's nice because everything just kind of comes down easily. with that configuration, you get a ton of cargo space. Second row has plenty of room. You can slide these seats forward and back. You have rear climate control. More USB ports, a couple of cup holders here. This feels a little bit cheap and plasticky, but it's probably not too bad. These armrests adjust to their height, and you even get window shades, which is a nice feature. Big panoramic sunroof. Very easy to get in and out of. I like this tall height, considering this has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, and it's not a big raised up SUV. It's actually very easy to get in and out of, which is great. Let's show you guys under the hood. You get that 2.4 liter boxer. Cool little intake scoop here going into the intercooler. I like that Subaru still makes their engines look like engines. They're not covered in tons of plastic cladding. Very quiet. This also has 20-inch wheels, which we'll get to later. I think it affects the ride quality a little bit. This is a little bit of a stiff vehicle to drive. Alright, I think that probably covers everything we want to talk about here. Let's hit the road and give you some driving impressions. So the first thing I have to say about this Ascent behind the wheel is the CVT is a little bit irritating to drive. It's difficult to gauge and predict how much acceleration it's going to give you. It's called Lineartronic, but it's not a very linear power band and acceleration tuning. It's either bogging down or it's giving you too much acceleration. It's pretty difficult to drive smoothly. And I noticed a few other reviewers mentioned the same thing. There's a good amount of overall power, and it seems the engine's actually pretty quiet, especially under full bore, but honestly, it's something that probably wouldn't bother too many buyers of this vehicle, and you do get used to it. But as a passenger, it makes this a little bit of an uncomfortable car to ride in. Second thing I will say is the steering on center is a little bit too light. It's very easy to get a little bit too much steering input without a lot of effort. So it's a little bit of a difficult car to drive at speed smoothly from that respect as well. Again, these are just tuning things that I feel like Subaru should really pay more attention to, and drivability stuff that's very easy to put into a vehicle. They get right in some of their models, but in this Ascent, the tuning is not very good. Ride quality is okay. For a vehicle in this class, it feels too stiff. It's very busy over uneven pavement. Off-road, at slow speed, it's okay. On the highway, it's fine because it's smooth pavement. But on rough roads, there's just a little bit too much body motion. And it feels a little bit firm for what this vehicle is. You can feel it here, though. CVT knows we're in a corner, so it's keeping the revs high. That's kind of nice. This definitely feels like it has a little bit more than 260 horsepower, considering how large this thing is. It's about 4,500 pounds. The Ascent can tow around 5,000 pounds with the right package. And once you get up to speed on the highway, the non-linearity of the throttle isn't as big of a deal. But What I do have another complaint about is this cruise control system is always just beeping whenever you change lanes. It beeps whenever another car pulls out in front of you. The eyesight system will tell you with a little beep and a warning that that's what's happening. It's a little bit frustrating to drive. I'm sure you can turn these features off, but out of the box, as it sits, it's kind of a weird system. You can hear it there. And it gives you a little bit of a visual up here on the eyesight display of what's going on, how close you are to the vehicle ahead. The cruise control is very easy to operate. You skip 5-mile-an-hour increments with one press. You can change your following distance very easily, and everything's displayed nicely in the center display there. I will say at speed it's very quiet. Very little wind and tire noise. You do get lane keep assist. It's not a lane centering system, so it's going to kind of bounce you off the lines. You get a little bit of low speed whir from the CVT, especially on cold startup. And this does have 8 simulated gear ratios. Let's test those out. Intended to give you a little bit more of a dynamic experience on a back road. That said though, if you're looking for the fun to drive option in this class, the CX-9 is the way to go. This Ascent feels very confidence-inspiring, very planted, but after everything I've mentioned with the driving dynamics, it's definitely not the driver's choice in the 3-row SUV segment. And to be honest, I'm a little bit confused about this segment to begin with. I feel like if you need a lot of space, if you have a lot of family, you'd kind of want to just get a minivan. But maybe, this appeals to a lot of people. I will say this Ascent does have some more off-road chops than a lot of its competitors. Another thing I've noticed on the highway is at speed, around 65 miles an hour and up, you can see the hood vibrating at speed, and that's a little bit distracting sometimes, especially when it's reflecting the sky or vehicles around you. Something I noticed in my BRZ when I first got it too. Otherwise though, for most of the intended buyer group with this Ascent, a lot of these things are going to be non-issues, and people will get used to the way this drives and the throttle inputs and stuff like that. It handles reasonably well. Brake pedal feels light. A lot of the controls are just very light, very sensitive. And it takes some adjustment getting into this compared to a lot of other vehicles. Visibility is great. Do have blind spot monitoring in the mirrors. And they even give you a little fisheye mirror to spy on your kids in the back seat. Let me know if you guys have any questions about this Ascent. We'll also be posting some videos on Winding Road. There's some positives here. It's pretty good value. It's priced nicely, especially kind of the mid-trim models. And you do get a lot of features, a lot of nice ergonomics, good usability. There's a great amount of space in here, good place to put things. I do wish they offered wireless charging, but these 2.1 amp chargers will provide plenty of juice for your mobile devices. Overall, this is a decent offering from Subaru, but unfortunately the overly sensitive steering, the poor throttle tuning make this a frustrating vehicle to drive and a little bit of a deal breaker to recommend this over its competitors.